Middle of Konoha 2 months after the bell test. We currently see Naruto in a bush with a radio earpiece in and listening to orders from Kakashi. The current D rank they were on was the dreaded Tora the Cat mission. Capture Tora and return him back to Madame Shijimai. Naruto was listening to Kakashi using the code names he gave them and replied with Copy-sensei, I have Tora in my sights. He is about 5 meters north of my location close to Broody and a little whiles away from Screecher. Naruto finished as he kept moving to the edge of the bush, still being silent until he heard Kakashi tell him to stay in position until Sasuke and Sakura were in position. Naruto sighed and 10 minutes later they made their move to catch Tora. Sasuke dived at it, scaring it towards Sakura, who went to catch it, making it run to Naruto, who let it jump into his arms and scratched its ear gently. Target captured, sensei. The target has the red ribbon on its ear. Definitely Tora. Naruto finished as he sat next to a tree playing with Tora while Sakura and Sasuke got their breath and glared at Tora. And you two wonder why poor Tora runs away from you? You do nothing but glare at her. Poor kitty, Naruto said sarcastically while playing with Tora, who seemed to make a noise in agreement. After a minute Kakashi appeared next to them and saw Naruto with Tora. Let's go finish this mission, then we'll see about taking a new one. Kakashi said as Naruto stood up carrying Tora whilst his teammates dragged themselves back to the Hokage Tower, still glaring at the cat. Upon entering the mission room, Naruto spotted Madame Shijimai and handed her Tora. Until he saw how she was hugging the cat, he took Tora back and glared at Madame Shijimai before saying, "You can't cuddle Tora like that. She's living too, probably growing near her end because of you and your so-called hugs." This shocked everyone that Naruto would talk to the fire daimyo's wife like that before. Madame Shijimai asked, "How should I show my darling Tora all my love then?" She sounded defeated, which surprised Hiruzen the most, as usually she would be stubborn and try to fight anyone who accuses her of that. Just hug her gently, stroke her fur softly and don't wrap your arms around her neck. It seriously hurts her. Oh, and get another cat, as when she is in heat she will need the companion. He finished as he showed her how to carefully take care of Tora, and she nodded, taking in his instructions as she put her hands out for Tora, who seemed to flinch away before giving it a go, and enjoying how much different it was now, she stayed still while Madame Shijimai had smiled at Tora and rubbed her ears as well. This happened until Hiruzen cleared his throat. "Well, Madame Shijimai," Hiruzen said softly as she turned to him, still caring for Tora, who looked as if she was in heaven, "I believe that is the mission done." He finished as she nodded and handed over the mission money and some extra. Ma'am, there is too much here," Hiruzen said as Madame Shijimai just shook her head. "The extra is for this young man. He looks so much like Hikari-chan, and the fact he has her attitude to tell me how to look after my baby, I believe he deserves it." After she finished, she didn't realize the wide-eyed Naruto, who whispered softly, "You knew Kaa-chan?" It was worded as a question but was more so a statement, as Madame Shijimai turned to him and nodded, confused. "How did you know Kaa-chan?" he asked softly, and surprised everyone as they saw the tears building up in his eyes. "Hikari-chan was his Kaa-chan." Hiruzen Dano. She asked to the Hokage, who nodded, confused as to how she knew Hikari. That would explain why Tora loves you so much. "After all, Tora's parents were owned by your Kaa-chan," Madame Shijimai said before thinking, "so you must be little Naruto, huh?" she asked as Naruto nodded. She knew of him through letters that Hikari and the fire daimyo would send each other when Hikari was still alive. Madame Shijimai walked up to him and smiled. "She's in a better place now, Naruto. But if you need someone to talk to, I'm sure me and Kaneko-kun would be happy to have you over to talk." Naruto was stood stunned before he smiled softly and nodded, and Madame Shijimai knew she should be heading home, so she walked towards the door. "I shall be heading home now. I'm sure Kaneko-kun will want you over for a meeting sometime, Hiruzen Dano, so I'll see you then. If not, then we'll see each other next when the Chunin exams are happening." With that, Madame Shijimai left with Tora purring softly in her arms. After a small amount of silence, it was soon filled with laughing from Naruto. "What's funny, Naruto?" asked Hiruzen as Naruto gained a smirk before he sat down. The fact I just got rid of one of the dreaded D-ranks, Naruto replied, stunning everyone until Hiruzen burst out into laughter as well. So I guess the tournament you all had on to see who would end up kill the cat first can be called off. After all, it's never going to die until old age gets it. Naruto smirked at the shocked looks of the Chunins in the that he knew of it. Oh, and I'm sure Team 7 has enough D ranks under their belt to get a C rank, isn't that right, Sandaime-sama? Naruto asked, making the Hokage and the Chunin check their files and then nod defeatedly. Alright, call in the client, Hiruzen said to one of the two Chunins, who nodded and went to get Tajuna. Team 7, your mission will be to escort Tajuna the bridge builder home to Nami no Kuni and protect him while he builds a bridge that will connect Nami and Hai no Kuni. Together, he finishes off, getting a nod from the team as Tajuna enters. This is Tajuna, the VIP of this mission who you will all be protecting, Hiruzen said as he then turned from Team 7 to Tajuna. Tajuna, this is Team 7, the strongest out of the current graduates from the academy, Hiruzen said as Tajuna started to make remarks about the team, which was silenced by someone with a kunai to his neck and the bottle of sake he had disappearing from his hand. When he turned to look at who it was, he saw Naruto there, which surprised everyone but the Hokage at how fast he was, and the Hokage knew about his seals that are slowing him down. The speed he moved at was as fast if not faster than Kakashi when he stops holding back. So Tajuna-san, do you believe us inadequate to escort you back to Nami and protect you whilst you build your bridge? Naruto asked, almost daring Tajuna to speak out. When Tajuna shook his head, Naruto sighed and lowered the kunai, though Naruto was getting a bad feeling about this mission, as Kakashi gave them the orders to meet at the North Gates in 1 hour. So Naruto just used Shunshin to get home and packed up his stuff into a scroll while also looking at his mother's picture. I'm going on my first C rank, Kaa-chan, so I won't be back for a month. I'll activate the anti-personal seals to stop anyone from entering. He smiled softly. I'll make sure to be safe, he said before whispering, I still miss you. He smiled faintly before leaving and activating the seals and heading towards the North Gates. Once he reached the North Gates, he smirked, seeing Kakashi already there. So your team's training isn't something the great Kakashi Hatake takes serious, but a silly C rank is? Naruto asked with mirth before using Umbu hand signs and signing to Kakashi about his bad feeling of this mission. Kakashi only nodded and looked at Tajuna. Well, this is a political mission of sorts, so I have to be on time, or I face a punishment from Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied as jokingly as Naruto was, which got him a chuckle. When the rest of the team got there, they all left, just missing a certain blonde Senju entering through the southern gates of Konoha with her black-haired apprentice and a pet pig. These were Tsunade Senju, Shizune Kato, and Taunton. The three walked to the Hokage's office and spoke to Hiruzen about Naruto and where he was, which is how they found out about his mission to Nami, which made Tsunade sigh and walk to the Senju compound to stay there until he gets back. Back with Team 7. Team 7 was walking along the road whilst Naruto saw a puddle, which was weird as there hadn't been rain for almost a month in Hai no Kuni until he picked up on the Chunin chakra reserves inside both puddles, making him nod, look to Kakashi slightly, who nodded slightly to not give it away to their current enemies. As they walked past the puddles, Kakashi used the Kawarimi with a log to replace himself from being killed by the shuriken chain connecting the gauntlets of the demon brothers. Naruto jumped into action and commanded the team, Sakura, protect Tajuna as best as you can. Sasuke, you take Gozu and I'll take Miizu, and once I beat him I'll come assist you, got it? Naruto asked, leaving no space for them to retort about the orders as he jumped into action and started to trade attacks with Miizu. Only for Naruto to speed up and look bored as he landed a strong punch into Miizu's stomach, launching him into a tree. Naruto used some ninja wire to tie him to the tree whilst he then bolted to fight a surprised Gozu with Sasuke. After a well-placed punch, Naruto ties the two brothers to the same tree before hitting one of them awake for questioning. So Kakashi, how did I do for my first time taking over the team? Sakura looked at Naruto as if he was crazy until they heard Kakashi. It was amazing for your first time taking the lead on a mission, Kakashi said, surprising Sakura, Sasuke, and Tajuna as they all thought he died. What? There is a replacement technique for a reason, Kakashi said with a small smirk under his mask, making Sakura and Sasuke feel dumb about forgetting it. After a minute or so they decided to interrogate Gozu and Miizu for who hired them and who their target was. They told them they were hired by Gato to take out Tajuna but said nothing else. Naruto knocked the two out and put them in a prisoner scroll and sent them back to Konoha with one of Kakashi's summons Pakon, whilst Kakashi sent a report. So Tajuna, why should we continue this mission? After all, you not only lied to us about the ranking but there could be stronger opponents later on. Kakashi. So Tajuna explained everything, trying to get sympathy from the team. So Kakashi turned to his team, what do you want to do? Sasuke answered with a holier-than-thou attitude, saying, we'll do it, after all it could help me prove how much stronger I am. This got a screech about how cool he is from Sakura, whilst Naruto sighed. Yeah, sure, we'll do it. Naruto stood up as he walked to Tajuna and then past him. Let's go. The sooner we get to Nami the sooner I can get home. And so Team 7 headed off towards Nami while Pakon ran to the Hokage office. With Pakon jumped through the Hokage's office window as he dropped the letter and the scroll for Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, Pakon said before continuing, Team 7 is headed to Nami and bumped into these two. They dispatched the enemy and sealed them away before continuing the mission. But they plan to get the money that Nami owes us after they have recovered, Pakon said, making Hiruzen nod as Pakon then dispelled and went back to the summoning realm. Back with Team 7. Team 7 was riding on the boat as Naruto got a shiver up his spine. I feel like I'm going to be in trouble when I get back, he muttered, surprising the team who looked at him. How? Kakashi asked as Naruto shrugged and tried to put the feeling to the back of his head for now. Upon reaching the land, Naruto noticed the mist seemed to get heavier as they continued to walk. Hey Kakashi-sensei, how many people are there that are Rouge from Kirigakure? Naruto asked, seeming curious though he remembered the whole bingo book. Kakashi seemed to get the hint and started to list them off. Quite a few considering they are in a civil war, Kakashi said as Naruto nodded and asked about the most famous ones, the ex-Kiri no Shinobi Katana Shishin Shu. Kakashi said and seemed to piece it together as Naruto nodded and seemed to look lost in thought, though he kept his sensing up to his max range and sensed their next opponents inside. After walking for a couple hours, Naruto launched a kunao at a bush which made a white bunny hop out, making Naruto and Kakashi on edge. Though Sakura started to screech about him hurting a bunny, making Naruto glare at her to shut her up, they stayed still for 10 seconds where Kakashi then heard a sword colliding with the wind and shouted, "Get down!" Naruto grabbed Tajuna and Sakura and got down while Kakashi got Sasuke and dived down. As Naruto looked up, he saw the cubic Karaibasho stuck into a tree and smirked softly. So I was right. It's the Kirigakure no Kaijin Zabuza Mamakai. Naruto grinned as he saw Zabuza land on the sword as Naruto slowly stood up and unsealed a sword from his wrist. The blade had a red tassel hanging from the handle while its blade was as black as the night sky. The handle was held in Naruto's hand as Naruto grinned and held it out in a ready position. Zabuza, meet my favorite blade, Muramasa. Naruto grinned at the shocked face on Zabuza. So, he did have a legacy. Shunshin no Shisui gave his sword over to someone but not his kid. He asked as Naruto grinned more. So let me guess, cousin or little brother? Naruto's grin seemed to soften as he replied, cousin. Though he did look after me when my Kaa-san died, so I guess he was kind of like an older brother, Naruto said before he stood up straight and said. Though don't let my age fool you, as I am the only one to see through his dance of the flash. Naruto smirked as he let his body relax a little. And I was the one he trained for years in all aspects he could, so I gained his Kenjutsu style with some of my own little twists. I like to call this style dance of the maelstrom. He took a deep breath before readying his stance. Kakashi-sensei, you don't mind if I take this fight? He asked, and Kakashi looked at him before he sighed and nodded. Naruto just smiled and looked at Zabuza. Kenjutsu only? No ninjutsu, and if we lose the blade we change to taijutsu, Naruto said as he took a test swing of his sword and smiled more, getting used to the weight again. Zabuza just nodded and took his sword from within the tree, and he and Naruto jumped to the water, standing there with little effort, shocking Team 7 and Tazuna. Kakashi, because he wasn't expecting him to know the water walking already and the rest that he could stand on water. As Naruto and Zabuza stared each other down, a green leaf landed on the water's surface, giving an untold command to start as they dashed at each other, making the water explode from where they first were at the sudden pressure and speed. Once they met, they were more so on Zabuza's side of the lake, proving that either Naruto was faster than Zabuza or Zabuza was holding back, so Naruto grinned as their blades clashed over and over. Their speeds kept increasing until Tazuna, Sakura, and Sasuke couldn't see the blades, only the sparks let off from the clashing of the blades. This continued for 5 minutes before the two in combat backed away, both of them with a smirk. "So, the Gaki isn't too bad. Guess I should stop holding back," Zabuza said while inside he was cursing himself as he was almost going all out, and Naruto was keeping up perfectly. Naruto had a small smirk on his face as he looked to Zabuza. "I guess we should stop with the restraints, huh?" Naruto asked as he started to release the restriction seals on his body, and his chakra exploded from his body, scaring Tazuna, Sakura, and Sasuke, shocking Kakashi and the hidden Haku and making Zabuza grin. It reminded Zabuza of the amount of chakra that Kisame had, which made him happy to be fighting someone with that much chakra who was still so young. Zabuza chuckled and then started to laugh. "You sure do have a lot of chakra," Zabuza said as Naruto nodded. "Well, let's go." While outwardly grinning, inwardly Zabuza had resigned himself to his fate and was willing to accept death by this kid no young man, Zabuza thought as the two kicked off of the water surface towards each other. Zabuza didn't even get as far as he did the first time before he was stopped by a blade intercepting his own. They fought like this until Naruto hit his blade away and then kicked him into a tree. As he hit the tree, he was winded and fell to the floor. This is when he accomplice decided to interject and take Zabuza away by making him seem dead and then shining away with him. Tazuna took the Konoha into his home and they stayed there for a week. The next day with Naruto. Naruto was walking through the village where Tazuna's house was close to. As he was walking, he was disgusted at the way the village was because of Gato and promised to kill him. That was until he saw a group of Gato's thugs blackmailing a store owner in Nami. He walked up to the group and killed all but one and said in an icy voice, which if someone from IWA or Kumo were to hear would remind them of the Yondaime Hokage, "Go back to Gato and tell him to be scared, as I won't allow him to treat these people like this." With his piece said and scaring the shit out of the thug, Naruto left. After making a shadow clone in secret to follow the thug, and acted like normal until he got out of the village, where he ran into the forest and started to throw up into a bush. "Ugh, that feels horrible," he muttered as he threw up again, and then heard a voice he hasn't in a while. It was either you killed them, or they killed the store owner kid. You did what you needed to do to protect the innocent, and that's the best you can do until you cut the head of the beast off. Naruto smiled at hearing Kurama trying to make him feel better about it as he wiped his mouth and then sat down at the base of a tree trunk and chuckled. "I guess you're right, huh, Kurama?" Naruto asked with a small smirk, which Kurama copied. "I honestly thought you had left me all alone for a while," Naruto said jokingly, getting a chuckle from the Baijuya. "You know I wouldn't leave my favorite ninja since Hagoromochichi," Kurama said through their mental link, getting a smile from Naruto as he started to head back to Tazuna's place. Once there, he entered and saw Tazuna's daughter Tsunade. "Tsunade-san, would you like help making lunch? And if you don't mind, could you tell me where my team went?" he asked their host in a soft voice as she turned to him with a smile. "Kakashi-san took your team out to do some training, tree walking I think he called it," Tsunade said as she turned to the food and said, "And if you don't mind, could you try the food and then make some tea for us all?" Tsunade asked in her motherly tone, which reminded Naruto of Mikoto and Hikari as he nodded softly and tasted the food. The food is amazing Tsunami-san, and I'll start on the tea for us all now, he said as he walked to the kettle on the stove and started to make the tea for their lunch when everyone got back. He smiled as he remembered doing this with Mikoto when she would visit him and his mother whilst she was sick with the disease, and before he knew it his team walked in with a heavily panting Sakura, a scowling and disheveled Sasuke, and a chuckling Kakashi. I take it Sasuke didn't get the tree walking exercise, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked with a small chuckle. Kakashi nodded, making Sasuke growl before he shouted, I doubt you could do it, Dobe. After all, you're still the dead last and got lucky to beat me, the last of the elite Uchiha. Naruto then heard Sakura yell in agreement as Naruto just looked at them before dismissing their outburst when he got the memories of his clone. He had followed the thug. Naruto knew where Geto was, how many men he had, and where the vault was, along with the codes for the vault. Naruto just walked out of the dining room and helped Tsunami with taking the food out and setting the table, while Kakashi just chuckled at Sasuke's outburst. Actually, Sasuke, Kakashi said, getting Sasuke's attention, Naruto has mastered the next stage of chakra control, and probably more considering how much chakra he has and the amount of control he has of it, Kakashi said, making Sasuke growl. Well, they're probably easier than this tree walking thing. Kakashi, I demand you teach me the others first, Sasuke said in a tone of superiority, making Naruto scoff at him. He'd probably teach you them if you master this one and then gain a large enough chakra reserve, Naruto said as he sat down with his chopsticks. After all, you heard how Zabuza complimented me by comparing my reserves with Kisame Hoshigaki, the tailless-tailed beast, because of his exponential amount of chakra, which could be compared to a Baiju. You're right, Naruto asked as he started to eat his food. Sasuke growled as he started to eat, and a surprisingly silent Sakura started to eat as well while Kakashi ate his food through his mask. It was here that Tsunami's son, Inari, made himself known with an outburst. Why do you even try? Geto is too strong for you to even fight, he will kill you all, so why do you even try? This surprised Sasuke and Sakura at the outburst, but Naruto looked at him blankly. Huh? I thought I heard someone talk, Naruto said dismissively. This pissed Inari off as Naruto continued to eat. Inari's fuse exploded and he started to shout at Naruto about how he was going to die. That was until Naruto released an amount of chakra that scared them all, but it was calming surprisingly. I don't care about what Geto has done. He can do nothing other than hide behind thugs and cower whenever someone gets close to hurting him, while hiring people to take out those who are hired to protect the residents of this country. Now grow up and quit hiding in your fear, Naruto said before looking up from his bowl of rice and saying, or else your family will die and you will put your hero's last wish and dreams to waste. Naruto said in a tone which reminded Sasuke of Itachi while Kakashi saw Minato standing over Naruto before Naruto stood up finishing his food. I'm going out for some late night training. I'll be back tomorrow, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto walked out after putting his dishes in the sink, leaving a surprised Sakura, Tajuna, and Tsunami, a crying Inari and a silent Kakashi and Sasuke. Next morning in the forest, Naruto lay on the forest floor whilst letting the sun hit him. He may have had his eyes closed, but he was very much awake and had his senses open in case someone came close. He lay there for half an hour when someone got close and seemed to reach for his neck. That was when Naruto grabbed their wrist, stopping them. Once he stopped them, he cracked an eye open as he felt the person's chakra and smirked. Hello, Miss, Naruto said as he let go of her wrist and sat up. The girl moved back and rubbed her wrist softly as she smiled at him. Hello, Ninja-san, the girl said as Naruto chuckled. Please, just Naruto is fine. What's your name? Naruto asked softly as she looked at him and nodded. My name is Haku, Naruto-san, she said in a somewhat monotone voice. Naruto nodded as she looked at him. Why are you out here, Naruto-san? She asked softly as Naruto looked at her blankly. As he looked around, he seemed to turn sheepish and chuckled. I was training last night and kind of overdid it a little, he said, rubbing his neck. What about yourself, Haku? Naruto asked as she looked at him. Collecting herbs to help one of my precious people get better, Haku replied as Naruto nodded and looked around. Would you like some help? Naruto asked, making her smile and nod. They walked around the forest collecting herbs that could be used to heal someone. Naruto surprised the girl at his medical knowledge while she saw his fighting side. When watching his fight Zabuza, she expected him to only do fighting, not have knowledge of other things. Naruto looked at the girl and then away. "So is Zabuza that precious to you?" he asked, putting her on edge as Naruto waved his arms in surrender. "I was only wondering so I could warn you too about what Gato plans on doing," Naruto said as she lowered her guard slightly, asking what he meant. "He plans to betray you too when you get to the bridge and use up your energy," Naruto said as she was shocked. "So I suggest you tell Zabuza to leave and help out the rebellion in Kiri. After all, it's apparently coming to a close with Mei Terumi leading it," Naruto said as she was stunned even more. "How do you know?" she asked as Naruto just tapped his nose to motion it was a secret. "I know the Gato things because I had a shadow clone infiltrate where he is currently based around, and they found out a lot of things, from how many guards he has, how much money is in his safe, what his signature is, and the codes to get into his vaults, so I could, let's say, legally take over Gato Industries, as you and Zabuza were hired through that. Give you 2-year pay and then say that the job is over, obviously after Gato is done for," Naruto said as she was shocked by what he said, and then when he said legally in air quotes. "You want to kill Gato and his thugs and take over Gato Industries? Then pay me and Zabuza-sama for our failed services?" Haku asked in disbelief as Naruto just nodded. Naruto then stood up and turned away. "Run it by Zabuza and then we'll meet up on the bridge after he gets better to decide what he wants to do," Naruto finished as he started to walk away. Haku then headed back to the place her and Zabuza were staying and told him what Naruto said, making Zabuza look thoughtful before he came to a decision to agree. As long as he knew what he was saying was true with the betrayal. Meanwhile, with Naruto walked into Tajuna's house just as Tsunade finished breakfast. "Hello," Naruto said as he shocked everyone at his appearance as he walked to where his food was set up. "I hope I'm not too late?" he asked as Tsunade just shook her head to signify he wasn't. This made Naruto nod, pleased he wasn't late, and started to eat. Kakashi looked at him and smiled softly as he continued to eat. After breakfast, Naruto looked to Kakashi. "Hey sensei, I need to speak to you about something involving the mission." Naruto surprised Kakashi at what he said as he then nodded. Naruto stood up and walked upstairs as they both finished eating. Upon entering the room they used the first night, Naruto started. "Zabuza has an accomplice and I might have been able to make a deal with them both because Zabuza respects me for my skills with the sword," Naruto said, shocking Kakashi. "I also know where Gato is and everything about Gato Industries. I could take over the company in a day right now," Naruto said as Kakashi nodded. "What is the deal about?" Kakashi asked as Naruto looked at him and sighed. "I know Gato plans on betraying Zabuza and his accomplice, so I warned them. In return they assist me in taking out the current management of Gato Industries and the current employees. I will then take over Gato Industries. Pay them enough money for them to go and assist the Kiri rebels, and then leave the to-be-named Leaf Industries based in Nami no Kuni when they get a new daimyo, and they will get a share from trade profits as well as large shareholding of the business while giving them more jobs as well as more trade routes. It's a win-win for 3 different groups, the rebels in Kiri. Konoha gets a new ally in the form of Nami, and Nami gets money trading along with the ability to trade with other countries, giving them more money as well as other countries profit in the form of escort missions of their goods," Naruto said, surprising Kakashi at how much he thought this through. Kakashi nodded. "Alright, I guess I can give Zabuza a chance to make the choice before we go to the bridge, and if this works out Konoha will start to get more money along with the others," Kakashi said as Naruto nodded. And Naruto vanished from sight to go do some personal training. Day of the bridge fight. Naruto had made some shadow clones and ordered them to protect the house with Tsunade and Inari in. Naruto only did this on a hunch, but also knowing how low Gato was willing to go just to stop this bridge being made. After the clones got their orders they hid within the house while Naruto Team 7 and Tajuna started to walk to the bridge. Once getting there, Naruto smirked at the mist and clapped his hands futon, Daitapa, wind style. Great breakthrough. As soon as he said that, a gust of wind shot from his hands and cleared the mist, revealing Zabuza. Haku and all of the builders knocked out. I take them being knocked out as you agreeing with working with us? Naruto asked as he looked at Zabuza. Oh, I agree on one condition. You and I have a 1vs1 fight and you remove all your weights, Zabuza said in curiosity as to see what Naruto's true speed was. Naruto just sighed. But I don't want to kill a future ally, Zabuza, Naruto said with only confidence in his voice, not a single drop of arrogance, which made Zabuza grin. Oh, it's only a test to see how fast you are, Zabuza said as Naruto sighed and nodded. As soon as he nodded, he held up a half-ram seal. Kai, Naruto whispered as he seemed to tense his muscles and then appear beside Zabuza. Happy now you've seen my speed. Naruto's speed without his seals seemed to be mid-cage speed. If I had experience, I'd probably be able to fight against Sandaime-sama. I'd have the speed and strength. But not the experience, Naruto said as he activated his seals and made a couple of clones. Go put on a fake fight to draw Geto out. Naruto commanded, making them nod and start to have a fake fight with each other. After about an hour of the fake fighting, they looked to Naruto, who had a grin on his face. Oh, they are coming. Naruto chuckled and looked at Zabuza. Make some mist. They need to believe it's real. With a nod, Zabuza made some mist and Naruto waited until he felt their chakra signatures at the end of the bridge. Naruto just smirked and chuckled as he then heard the clapping. He clapped again and used Daitapa, clearing the mist and surprising Geto at the state they were all in, as if none of them had fought at all. Zabuza, what is the meaning of this? I hired you to kill Tajun and not talk to the enemy, shouted an outraged Geto as he saw Zabuza grin. Seems you were right, Gaki. Shall we take out Geto and his goons? Asked Zabuza, and Naruto shook his head. They betrayed you and Haku-san. You two should be the ones allowed to kill them, Naruto said, making Zabuza grin more as him and Haku started to go after the horde of them all. Haku only knocking them out with Senbon, while Zabuza cut them in two halves until they made it to Geto, and Naruto shouted, wait, I need him alive for now. Just to get his company without any problems. Naruto finished pulling out the papers to make the company his. After signing both his own and Geto's signature, he gave Zabuza the go-ahead and he killed Geto. Now to figure out who the daimyo of Nami will be, Naruto grumbled as they walked to Tajuna. Haku used some herbs to wake up the people who was knocked out before they reached the bridge. After the bridge is built. During the remaining parts of the mission, Nami had decided that Tsunade would be the new daimyo, and so Naruto asked her to sign the contract to put the Nami daimyo in charge of half of Leaf Industries. After that happened, the construction of the bridge went off without any problems. Tajuna finished the bridge before schedule because Naruto helped with the use of shadow clones. The remaining time used to train Sasuke and Sakura, which was punishing to the both of them. It increased their skills and gave Sasuke a reason to brag more as he unlocked his Sharingan. He just rubbed it in Naruto's face. That was when he challenged Naruto to a spar, which ended extremely badly for Sasuke as he ended up being knocked out less than a second after Kakashi said go to them both. Positive side about the mission ending though was that Naruto could go home and train more for the Chunin exams coming up. Another thing that happened was that the BRRDGE they built was called the Great Naruto Bridge in honor to Naruto, which made him feel happy about it. Team 7 was just walking up the road towards Konoha when Naruto felt a large chakra signature he never felt before and looked to Kakashi confused but shrugged it off. Team 7 signed in and walked towards the Hokage office, where upon entering Naruto sat on the couch and Kakashi debriefed the Hokage on the mission. While this was going on, Naruto felt that same chakra signature he felt before getting closer as he turned to Hiruzen. Hokage-sama? Naruto asked, getting the Hokage's attention. Who is on their way over? Their reserves are almost as much as yours, he asked, making Hiruzen smirk very light, which went unnoticed. I don't know, Naruto, Hiruzen said as the door was flung open, and Naruto looked to it and gasped before muttering. Tsunade Bachin. The only people who heard was Kakashi, who was surprised the slug Sunin was back in Konoha, Tsunade, who looked to him and looked stunned, and Hiruzen, who grinned like a madman. "Is that you, Naruto?" Tsunade asked as Naruto nodded as he smiled, which soon vanished as she looked ready to murder him. "Naruto Uchiha. Why didn't you tell me Hikari-chan died?" she shouted as she walked over to him, making him cower slightly. "I didn't want Sandaime-sama to force you to come back here when I was orphaned. I was still able to keep the house because Kaa-chan left me enough money," he said with fear. This surprised Sakura and Sasuke that he knew who the Sunin was, and Kakashi had just put the dots together and his eyes widened. "Besides, Kaa-chan said an old lady like you shouldn't stress yourself out over a kid like me," he mumbled, making Tsunade growl and Hiruzen to chuckle a little. Sakura, being the ever-curious and stupid one of the groups, asked Tsunade same. "How do you know Naruto Baka?" Now the nickname was the one she always called even after he proved to be smarter than most if not all of the recent generation. "Naruto, who is this?" she asked Naruto, who replied, making Tsunade sigh, "At least my grandson doesn't have fangirls." That confused Sakura and Sasuke. "But you never had children, Tsunade-sama," Sakura said, making Tsunade sigh and look at Naruto and Hiruzen for help, making Naruto sigh as he's had to do this before. "Damn it, Baa-chan, you shouldn't have mentioned it," he groaned before looking to his teammates. "I am Naruto Namikaze Uchiha, son to Minato Namikaze, Yondaime-sama, and Hikari Uchiha, grandson of Tsunade Senju and Grey Moth Namikaze. On my Dio-San's side, while on my Kaa-chan's side I am the grandson of Madara Hashirama and Hotori Uchiha," Naruto said with a groan as his teammates looked stunned. "But I guess it is time to tell Konoha about my lineage, isn't it, Sandaime-sama? After all, Baa-chan is here and she can look after me even though I don't want to leave my house to go to the Senju compound," Naruto finished as Hiruzen nodded.